There still could be something down at the bottom of that caisson, and they're going to vacuum it up literally, and we're going to look in there, and we're going to hope we find the one thing.
Today's the day we find Rick's one thing.
Yeah.
Rick Lagina just confirmed what almost no one believed could ever happen. An ancient Templar vault has finally been found beneath Oak Island. Hidden 180 feet below the swamp zone, the chamber holds metallic structures, carved stones, and gold so pure it challenges everything we thought we knew about early history. For decades, the money pit was dismissed as a myth, a legend kept alive by hopeful treasure hunters. But not anymore. New scans, artifacts, and centuries-old French records are proving this story is real, and it's rewriting history. The discovery began quietly. After months of sonar mapping and failed drilling attempts, Rick's team finally found something that didn't match any known record. A perfectly sealed void, deep underground, where no natural formation should exist. It was carved directly into bedrock, aligned with the original money pit's layout, yet had never been documented before. When the first scans came in, the readings made no sense. The density was too heavy for stone, too organized to be natural. This wasn't random debris. It was built, layered, designed. Someone had engineered it centuries before anyone in the region had the tools or the knowledge to do so. Rick's response said it all. This could be the original vault. Once the team broke through the chamber's outer layer, they were met with something extraordinary. A carved limestone slab, marked with the unmistakable cross-pate of the Knights Templar. The stone showed centuries of erosion, but its craftsmanship was deliberate and advanced. Later tests revealed marine clay had been used to seal and preserve it, a technique meant to protect structures from saltwater damage, far ahead of its time. Even more shocking were the fine etchings found along the slab's edge, coated lines that matched the carvings inside Scotland's Rosslyn Chapel, a site long rumored to be linked to Templar secrets. When Marty Lagina saw the match, he said what everyone was thinking. This isn't theory anymore. It's the first real link to the Templar migration, right here on Oak Island. As they continued deeper, radar scans showed repeating metallic signatures, uniform, deliberate, echoing through the rock. The team carefully drilled a microsample, and what came back was undeniable. Quartz dust mixed with traces of refined gold. Not natural gold, but shaped, hammered, ancient gold. That's when Rick said the line that sent waves through the entire Oak Island community. We may not be chasing legend anymore. We're standing over it. If this discovery holds up, it means the story of Oak Island isn't about hidden treasure at all. It's about lost knowledge, a message sealed in stone, waiting 6 centuries to be found. Stay tuned, because what the Laginas just uncovered doesn't just rewrite Oak Island's story. It rewrites history itself. The team needed answers, not from the ground, but from history itself. Somewhere, there had to be a record explaining who buried this vault and why. That clue came from an unexpected place, deep within the French naval archives of La Rochelle. While reviewing old colonial trade routes, a historian uncovered a forgotten chart dated 1701. It was fragile, faded, and labeled with a name that sent chills through Rick and Marty the moment they saw it. Le Deloire Perdu, the island of lost gold. When the coordinates were adjusted for magnetic drift, the outline matched Oak Island almost perfectly. But what truly stunned them were the notes scrawled along the margins, written in a cryptic mix of Latin and Old French. They spoke of le coffre du temple, the coffers of the temple, entombed beneath engineered trapstone designed to collapse under intrusion. Comparing the map's layout to their own excavation grid, the match was uncanny. The chamber they'd just opened sat precisely where the map placed the central deposit. Marty called it impossible coincidence. Rick wasn't so sure. Whoever drew that map centuries ago had knowledge of Oak Island's structure, knowledge that predated its recorded history. That revelation suggested something extraordinary. Survivors of the Templar Purge may have fled France, carrying fragments of their order's treasure across the Atlantic. One ship appeared again and again in old records, La Rochelle's Ghost, a vessel erased from naval logs during the 1307 purge and rumored to have vanished into the western seas. The newly found chart seemed to confirm its destination. Oak Island wasn't an accident, it was a chosen refuge. Down in the chamber, excavation continued. As the crew cleared sediment from a narrow passage, a faint metallic glint caught their attention. What looked like a piece of wire turned out to be a fragment of brass chain fused into the limestone. Once cleaned, the links revealed delicate engravings, each shaped as the Templar cross. Testing confirmed what the team barely dared to believe. The alloy was 13th century French, identical to ceremonial. While clearing sediment around the chain, the team uncovered a small lead container, no larger than 2 hands, sealed with wax and resin. Inside, perfectly preserved in the anaerobic mud, was a folded parchment fragment. Under controlled humidity, conservators carefully unrolled it, revealing faint black ink in flowing medieval French script. The translation was chilling. It spoke of l'Arche Grande, the Great Ark, and le secret sous la rose, the secret beneath the rose. Both were unmistakable Templar code phrases. The Great Ark referred to relics carried from Jerusalem. The rose symbolized the veil of secrecy protecting sacred knowledge. Experts compared the handwriting to Templar clerical records in Paris and found a match. The same scribe had been active right up until 1307, the year the order was destroyed. That placed the document squarely in the era of the last Grand Master himself. Then came the hidden message. Using infrared imaging, linguists noticed faint variations in the first letters of each line. Combined, they formed an acrostic, Domus Dei, House of God. To Templar historians, that phrase wasn't just spiritual. It referred to the order's most sacred vault, the inner sanctuary where their greatest relics were kept before being smuggled out of Europe. Rick stared at the translation table, silent for nearly a minute. Finally, he said, "Whoever buried this didn't want it found. They wanted it remembered, but only by those who knew how to look. The map, the chain, the parchment, they weren't random. Together they formed a deliberate trail stretching from medieval France across the Atlantic and ending beneath a Nova Scotian swamp. For the Laginas, the message was clear. The vault wasn't just real, it was intentional. It had been built, protected, and hidden with purpose. The evidence on the table wasn't only historical, it was technical. Whoever designed these chambers understood engineering, navigation, and concealment on a level far beyond their time. Acting on that insight, the team adjusted their borehole coordinates and probed beyond the vault's known boundary. What they found defied every prior survey. The next chamber wasn't simple stonework, it was engineered. As they drilled deeper, the borehole camera revealed a lattice of wood and brass woven through the rock, not natural collapse, but deliberate construction. The timbers were joined by brass pulleys and water valves arranged in a cross pattern, forming an interlocking mechanism. One wrong move could flood or collapse the entire vault. The crew realized this wasn't meant to preserve the chamber. It was built to guard it. The engineering resembled ship rigging from medieval vessels, suggesting the builders weren't masons, but Templar mariners, men who adapted their seafaring skills to construct a fortress beneath the earth. Rick summed it up over the comms. This isn't a vault made to be found. It's one designed to destroy itself if anyone tries. That phrase stuck. The team called it the Guardian Mechanism, a fitting name for a system built to protect something sacred. And the most astonishing revelation was still above ground. Using advanced LiDAR imaging, the team mapped Oak Island's surface and discovered a geometric pattern hidden beneath centuries of soil and foliage. The stone markers formed a precise cross stretching from Smith's Cove to the Money Pit and across the swamp. When plotted digitally and rotated to match the night sky, The formation aligned perfectly with the constellation Orion, the same celestial pattern used in ancient Templar star charts. The realization was breathtaking. The Templars had encoded their vault's design in the stars themselves. As the final overlay came into focus, Rick stood in silence. The money pit, the newly found vault, each aligned with a point in Orion's belt. It was no longer a theory. Oak Island wasn't just hiding treasure. It was following a cosmic blueprint. The realization hit all at once. The island itself wasn't just a hiding place. A celestial code translated into geography. Decorative. It was identical to the Rosy Cross, the emblem later adopted by the Rosicrucians, an order that many historians believe evolved directly from the surviving Templars. The carving's placement left no doubt. This was the threshold to the central vault, the heart of everything the island had been designed to conceal. Even before they touched it, the scanners confirmed what lay beyond. Metal density readings spiked to levels no one had seen before, dense, structured, and perfectly enclosed. Whatever was sealed behind that rose-carved gate was metallic, and there was a lot of it. The magnetometer struggled to read properly. The sheer volume of gold and alloy distorted the signal. It was enough mass to outweigh the entire money pit hoard combined. For the first time, the data wasn't ambiguous. This wasn't just legend. The readings suggested a solid cache, coffers, chests, perhaps dozens packed into a single stone chamber. Rick made the call to halt manual drilling. No one wanted to trigger another Guardian collapse. Conservation experts were brought in immediately. Equipped with micro cameras and non-invasive imaging tools, they inserted a fiber optic lens through a narrow borehole no wider than a pencil into the cavity beyond the gate. The live feed displayed a narrow corridor lined with limestone blocks and littered with centuries of silt. Then, just as the camera adjusted its focus, a faint glimmer cut through the dark, reflected light bouncing off a surface below. The crew went silent. The reflection wasn't random. It was gold, unmistakable under the LED's beam, muted, ancient, and untouched. The longer the camera lingered, the more reflections appeared, like ripples of light dancing off buried artifacts. It wasn't one object. It was dozens, maybe hundreds, a vault of gold sealed under the rose, undisturbed for over 6 centuries. Rick didn't speak, but everyone could read his expression: awe, disbelief, and something else. A deep recognition that what they were seeing wasn't just wealth. It was a message encoded in stone, geometry, and faith. For centuries, the story of Oak Island had been one of misdirection, false trails, and engineered failure. But now, as the camera captured the shimmering depths behind that rose gate, one thing was finally clear. The island had never been hiding treasure for the sake of riches. It had been guarding a secret of purpose. As the camera feed stabilized, the glare of gold began to resolve into forms, angles, reflections, and shadows that hinted at deliberate placement rather than chaos. Then, deep in the center of the chamber, a single object stood apart from everything else. It wasn't a coffer or a bar. It was sculpted, precise, an ornate chalice resting upright on a limestone pedestal. Even through the murky feed, its form was unmistakable. Wide bowl, flared rim, stem wrapped in vine motifs. When the extraction team finally recovered it days later, silence filled the room. The artifact's weight alone seemed to carry centuries. Its surface shimmered, not like standard gold, but with a warmer hue, an alloy unknown to modern smithing. Laboratory spectrometry later confirmed the impossible. The chalice was forged from Byzantine gold, mixed with Frankish silver, a metallurgical blend unseen since the 12th century. Every line, every etching, told the story of 2 worlds, East and West, united not by conquest, but by faith, wealth, and secrecy. Under magnification, delicate etchings traced along the inner rim formed a Latin inscription: Veritas Subrosa, truth under the rose. The phrase was a hallmark of Templar secrecy, used in their confessions suppressed by the French crown during the Purge. It signified vows made under the rose in absolute silence. Rick recognized the weight of those words immediately. This wasn't just a symbol. It was a declaration, a hidden oath preserved in metal. This could be the artifact they died to protect, he said quietly, almost to himself. No one replied. Every camera in the room focused on that single chalice gleaming under the floodlights, its shadows stretching across centuries of myth. Word of the discovery spread fast. Within weeks, communications arrived from the Vatican's Department of Sacred Antiquities. They requested high-resolution imagery, metallurgical reports, and provenance data. The message wasn't casual. It was formal, deliberate, and classified. Rick's team complied, submitting the initial findings through proper archaeological channels. Days later, an archivist from the Vatican's historical office reached out directly. His statement stunned the crew. The chalice's dimensions and inscriptions matched a missing reliquary listed in the papal inventories of 1312, an object believed lost when the Templar archives were seized and burned. According to those records, the reliquary had contained relic fragments said to originate from the early Church of Jerusalem, possibly artifacts carried from the Holy Land during the Crusades. It was last recorded under the custody of the Templar Order's Grand Preceptor of France before the arrests began. No record of its confiscation, destruction, or transfer ever surfaced. For centuries, its trail simply ended. Now, after 600 years, it had reappeared beneath a Nova Scotian island. The Vatican's interest wasn't symbolic. They proposed a joint review under international heritage law. Legal teams from Canada, France, and the Holy See convened to determine ownership and preservation rights. The find had crossed from television mystery into diplomatic reality, and with that, the lens pulled back, capturing the chamber one last time, the chalice glinting under soft light, the rose carved into the gate, and the faint echo of seawater dripping from the ceiling. An unfinished story suspended between history and legend, waiting for its next chapter to be told.